There's one of them. So we're live on a few places. Let's go over to Instagram. Come on, button. Come on. I think we're live on Instagram. I think so. Hello. Go to Facebook. Hit next. Hit post. And X. Post. Too many buttons. It's like the Mike and Mike show.
Yes.
Too many mics. Let's see. Where are the notes? There they are. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Getting ready to record with Michael out in Indiana.
Yes.
I'm Mike here in Missouri. This is a Mike
Yes.
and Mike in the Midwest show. And it's, by the way, it's freezing where both of us are. It's like a mini hurricane, blizzard, freezing, nasty. We're going to talk cruising to escape this nastiness of where we're living. Gross. Oh my gosh, cruising would be so, and especially, oh my gosh, the Eastern Caribbean.
Yes.
So awesome. I got to go there last summer. Okay, so let's see. Instagram going? Looks like it is. Let me check. Let's see. Well, looks like it is. We'll say it is. I think it is. It's got a green light. We'll say it is. All right. So we shall get started here. All right. Episode 2654. Monday. Got that. All right. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2654 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend. We appreciate you dropping back in to kick off another week here with us here on the show. Great trip report today, especially for those folks who are yearning get back out to sea. We have a lot of fans of cruising, me included. Got a lot of folks getting ready to take the podcast cruise in July. Not that I'm counting down the days, but guess what? I'm checked in for the podcast cruise at this point. Yes, that's right, Platinum folks. You're a go. You're ready to be. You should be checked in. Saturday was the day. Gold, you're up next here in a few weeks. Then we'll have our silver friends, our first time cruisers. Almost time to go. Can't wait. July 6th on the Magic. It's going to be here before you know it. So we're talking cruising. Of course, we had the big Give Kids the World 6-hour show this past weekend down in Kissimmee. Thanks to everybody who participated in that. Of course, recording this one before we took off for Florida, so we will report about that on Wednesday's podcast. But again, thanks to everybody who was a part of the big show on Saturday. But today, again, talking cruising, and we're talking about the newest ship in the Disney Cruise Line fleet, the Treasure, with our good friend Michael out in Indiana. What's up, Michael? Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Go ahead.
Just great to be here.
Glad to have you. And we are currently, now I don't know, because I think the weather as this show airs, because we record this on Wednesday for the next Monday. I think the weather next week is in the Midwest supposed to be pretty nice. But as of the day of recording, it is nastier than anything in the Midwest. We've had 50-mile-an-hour winds. We've had snow. And it's March. This is no bueno. So talking cruising today, perfect for both of us, right?
Yes, very much so.
Let's do this. So give me a little background on your Disney history. What's your backstory as far as enjoying Disney destinations?
Well, it's kind of started in the early 80s, right around 1982. Being from Indiana, it was always kind of a big deal to venture down to Florida to take our vacation. I'm the son of a grade school teacher, so we would take the the vacations kind of in the middle of the summer, and we would go down to visit family down in the St. Petersburg area. And while we were down there, we'd be down there for about a week. We would end up taking one day where we got up really early, drive to Disney World, spend the day from start to when they kicked you out, and then drive back. And that's for a lot of my trips, was that just single day, get as much in as possible. Flash forward to when I have my own family, I'm married, got to stay on premises, and it was like, that's going to be what I do from now on. I found it and I loved it and been there ever since.
I hope my kids got to have that same thing, right? Because they grew up, both parents being elementary school teachers, and we always, didn't force them. I mean, didn't like they had a terrible childhood because we got to go to Disney World every summer, but their vacations were always in July, so like we were always down there when it was 100 degrees and busy. But they still got to go, every year because I was a huge Disney fan and wanted to go. But the thing is, like you said, hopefully they made those memories, and when they have kids, it'll kind of be one of those things like, oh man, I want to do the same thing and stay on site and have the same experiences. But you got that taste of it, and now you're getting to explore. So what are some of those, like, what was that kind of first aha moment for you when you got to stay on site with your family?
It's actually my biggest moment was on our very first trip there. First off, it's like you go there and you feel that magic, and you get into that bubble, as they like to say. But it was coming down towards the end of the day, and right before fireworks time. And if you know Florida, what's the one thing that could show up at any point, which was rain.
Yep.
And I can picture this to this day of we're outside of the castle and it just comes down and fireworks haven't started yet. And we go to my favorite ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is right there. Partly because it was a covered kind of queue area. But we're sitting there waiting to get on the ride. And we look up and they start shooting off the fireworks in the middle of a rainstorm. And as a small kid, that just blew your mind. It's like, what kind of sorcery is this? Where they can make stuff that only happens normally when it's dry out, and they're just making it go off one right after another. It's like, this place is special. So it's like every other time, it's like you get those little bits of magic.
I love that. Like right there, your story you just told me, I can picture you standing there, like right where Winnie the, like right there in Fantasyland, like, just boom, right there.
Yes.
And like as a little kid, like water and fire doesn't mix, but there it is, and it's happening. It's magic. Like, exactly. It's just the wonder, the amazement, the delight of it all. Like that story is exactly why we go to Walt Disney World. I love it. It's a great way to start the show. I love that. You still like cling to that story. That's so cool.
And it's up there with some of the experiences. Like, I've been lucky enough to experience a thing that they don't do anymore, which is I got to ride in the front of the monorail.
Yes.
For one of our trips. And that's coming around the corner and seeing the Magic Kingdom from the front of that monorail is just breathtaking.
Same, because we used to do that too. Like you'd kind of like jockey for a position there, and ask the cast member, please can we ride up front? And then they'd be like, okay, in here, yeah.
It's funny because my aunt, who's the one that lives down in St. Petersburg, she knew of that trick. And we went and asked, and we were the only ones that did this. And we got pulled out of line. And it made us feel like we're kind of special. We're celebrities that
Yes.
we're not part of the mass that's getting on this thing. So,
And then if you're lucky, you got the little the pilot's license. My kids got that.
If I did, I don't remember where it's at, but
I don't.
I just
got it. Yeah.
I just remember sitting at the very front and just watching that thing go, and seeing the train station and seeing everything coming around that corner. It's just, that still makes me feel.
That's it. And, man, I think it was Paige that got it. And
Yeah.
man, because I'm a monorail fan. Oh, I wish I knew where that thing was. Like as a collectible, I would love to have that like in a frame, but you know, you're younger and you don't appreciate things at the time. So anyway, let's talk cruising. We promised cruising. We can't bait these people. Okay, so you guys went on the Treasure. So and this was a big group. You had 15 people total, a few families.
Yes.
So how did this whole thing come? I love to hear how like everybody decides we're going to go on a cruise. We're going to go on the Treasure. How did this all happen?
So one of my really good friends is a cruise fan. He's been on all the other ships. And when they announced the Treasure, he was bound and determined that he was going to go knock this one out. So in conversation, he's like, we're going to do the Treasure. Come cruise with us. And we had done a cruise previous with him. So it was just kind of, let's do the Treasure. We wanted to do a longer cruise. So the 7-day really kind of spoke to us. The ports that they were offering really kind of spoke to us. So they booked their cruise and gave us the date. And then we started talking with another friend that lives by us here in Indiana. And they were like, let's do this cruise. So we had 7 people from Indiana, and then the rest lived down in Orlando or outside of Orlando. So it was just kind of seeing somebody I haven't seen in a while and getting caught up and getting to enjoy 7 days on the high seas.
When a cruise too is, it's gonna be our 7th podcast cruise coming up in July, and I've always said this: like a podcast cruise is the greatest opportunity to get to know people or catch up with people that you don't. You know, life is so busy. Sometimes you just don't get to spend time with people other than like shuttling people to practices or seeing people in passing. But a cruise gives you a chance to sit down and have dinner with people every night, and have pizza late at night, and go to shows and go to beer tastings and. It's so chill and you're together for, a week or 5 days or whatever. It's, that's how I met Scott. We're best friends and we met on a cruise because we got to spend, 5, 6, 7 days together, and just like, this is a blast. We've been, joined at the hip practically ever since because, it started on a cruise basically. And I think you're exactly right. When you go with friends, there's nothing better. So let me ask you about this. So you did the Eastern Caribbean. You guys are all there. I want to talk about staterooms, entertainment, all that stuff because people are curious about the experience on the Treasure. But let me ask you in general, because you've been on the Dream 3 times on shorter cruises, like 4-night cruises. What did you think? Because you kind of mentioned that about the 7-night cruise. Did you find that is like, I mean, I always love the longer cruise. Like 7 nights to me is the perfect length if I can get off work and it works with my schedule. But I mean, it gives you so much mental relaxation time. Like you just feel like you got so much time to go to ship and you're just really chill. Did you like the 7-nighter? I mean, is that your spot now?
I did. The thing about the shorter cruise is you get in a mindset of you got to get everything in that short amount of time. So it's not necessarily where you don't get a lot of rest, because you do. But when you're on that 7-day cruise, you just kind of say, okay, I can take a deep breath. If I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm not like boom, 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 rushing to get through a lot of that stuff. And that's kind of what I found I really enjoyed about it was, hey, if I wanted to sit around and take in a movie, I felt better about doing that than I would have been on a 4-day cruise. thinking that I was going to miss something.
And I will say too, the Eastern Caribbean run in particular gives you that opportunity because you kick off right off with 2 sea days. I mean, you leave the port and you don't even have a port day till day 3. So as soon as you leave, you're on that ship continuously till day 3 when you pull into port. So you're on that ship. So if you don't have to be in a rush to go see a movie. Like you can do that on day 2, day 3. You can go to the spa. You really get to know the ship before you ever get to your first port, which is either going to be like Tortola or maybe St. Thomas or wherever it varies. Sometimes like you possibly could have had St. Juan. So it that gives you that mental. I was just wondering how that's how I like it too. I don't know how other people feel about sea days. I love sea days. They're kind of my favorite. I enjoy port days, but I think I like sea days the best because I love the ships. I'm kind of a ship geek. Like I just like exploring the ships because they're floating awesome places.
Yes.
Are you more of a sea day guy, just port guy, or what do you like?
I do. On our previous cruises, we would just kind of go to Nassau as the port. So I can honestly say I don't think I ever got off the ship in Nassau. So I enjoy exploring the ship and kind of doing that. So sea days work really well for kind of how I like to do things and how our family likes to do things. I mean, it's just not as stressed to do things when you're just kind of stuck in a ways on that ship. So
make sure we get all this because we got a lot. But so you guys, this big group, did you guys all arrive to the ship for embarkation separately, or how'd you guys get there?
Well, so the contingent from Indiana flew down from Chicago together. So 7 of us, we arrived the day before. The other part of the group, they're within driving distance, so they were there kind of beforehand. So it's we as the Indiana folk, and you can kind of tell us by the basketball that's underneath our arm and your cord in our hand.
You guys all had the striped red, white pants like my brother-in-law. He's an IU grad. I hear about it all the time.
The candy striper pants. But it's it was, I don't want to say it was challenging, but to have a kind of a larger group to get us all down there situated to the port and on the ship is an experience. Let's just say that.
Hey, I know. I mean, because Gardners and the Foresters, the Rallmans all go together. I'll be honest. We always get a big limo and like we go around and like just get it because we're always at different hotels typically too.
Yeah.
So we have to go to multiple stops, and with all that luggage, it's a mess. But somehow we've never missed the ship. Knock on wood. But it's always there's always a good story by the time we sit down at Cabanas or Marceline Market or wherever for the first.
That was we rented a car basically. So as families, you have 7 people, 5 male or 4 male or 3 male, sorry, and 4 females. The luggage that comes from that group is huge. I mean, we ended up, the rental car place gave us a 7-seat SUV, and we tried to fit everything in, and we couldn't.
Yes.
So we had to go back to them and say, hey, you got to give us something better. So they gave us an 8-seat minivan, and we had that jam-packed to get everybody in, get everyone a seat, and get every piece of luggage inside that vehicle.
I feel your pain because one time, because like again, it was the Gardners and Foresters, the Rallmans, all of us, right? And we all have girls. We all have girls, right? So I have 2 girls, Anna, Pam's daughter, Scott's got a daughter, right? So I mean, it's majority females. We got a lot of stuff, and I mean, and Scott, all the guys too. We all bring too much stuff too. It's not just the girls. We all bring too much. I mean, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. And because I guys don't know if you know, we did fish extended because we were in a group cruise. So we had all these like things to give away and all this. I mean, it was ridiculous. And because we had promotional stuff to give away from the agency, it was just anyway. they give us it's a decent sized limousine, right? I mean, because we had
Yes.
16 of us. Like it was super long. Like it was like rock and roller coaster, like limo. Like I was like, dude, this is awesome. But they didn't give us usually they give you a trailer, like to put your stuff in. They didn't give us a
Yeah.
trailer. So we're in this limo, like all with our suitcases in our laps, like in our carry-ons above the suitcase. I mean, we are like looking between the suitcases to even see each other. We're just like, this isn't like luxurious. We're just trying this is transportation at this point. I'll try to find some pictures and put them in the Discord. But it was wild. But now we always make sure, like if we ask, that we get a luggage trailer with our
Yes.
because sometimes we get like it's not like it's called a limo, but it's more like a passenger van. And sometimes
Yes.
we have like a mirror ball and like a disco lights and stuff. It's crazy. We just want to get to the port, but
It, it's
a
funny because I said my seat was perfectly fine, but I was driving. So
I
there
did
was,
think that's the hack.
yes.
Yeah, make sure you're driving. You can't have stuff in your lap. Okay, so first impressions of the ship, though. You've been on the Dream 3 times. You get to the
Yes.
treasure. What? Give us like your overview of the ship, then we'll break down staterooms and stuff.
Oh, it's beautiful. It is majestic when you walk in to the Grand Hall. How open it is, and it's much different because on the Dream you walk in and they have the main area, but the bank of elevators there kind of cuts that room off, and you also have the guest services, which is right there as well. So there's always a lot of people there. This was not that. It was open. You felt like you had a little bit of room to kind of maneuver. And you have the stage there. And then up to the floors, the staircase there. So it is, I liked the layout. I know that I think it's the Wish, I think, is the one that goes along with that class. I know that a lot of people didn't like the elevator setup with not having that middle elevator bank. I personally thought it was actually better, and you got to use the elevators a lot more, having them kind of separated with the front and the back of the ship. So I really liked that ship. It was very much, it's bigger.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I was thinking that way, but you see it and it's like, wow, how much bigger this ship is. And it comes to the rooms, I think, are bigger. I felt like I had more space in the actual room. And just there was a lot more openness to that ship.
So that's funny how you mentioned the elevators, because
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the elevator layout when I sailed the Wish, when it first came out. But I also didn't think they used that middle like public space very well. They didn't use the stage like in the atrium for anything when we sailed. Like there was nothing happening in the lobby.
Well,
And when I was on the Treasure, they used it for a lot. They had all the interactive shows going on in there. They had stuff happening on that stage. And so if they're going to use that for good, that's great, because to me, without having those forward lobbies and not, because they had, the farewell show was in there. Like it was a very useful, the lobby wasn't just a beautiful place. It was utilitarian. Like there was a lot of shows, there was a lot of happenings, and it was a wonderful space for people to gather multiple times a day. Stuff happened, diaper dash, it was just tons of stuff going on there, and I loved it. So if I was going to have a great place for gatherings multiple times a day with great shows, boom, I'm sacrificing it. But on the Wish, they didn't have it. And again, maybe they're changing it now, and probably have, but used it because the stage was there. But I was like, nobody was ever on the stage for our 4-night sailing, which I was like,
they use that stage quite often, which I think made it a lot better use of the space. Mm-hmm. Because when you're on a ship, space is a premium. So if you're not using it, it becomes more of a pain point than it does a benefit. And they did multiple shows with the Sage and Coriander characters, and they had the meet and greets and everything like that. It was so felt comfortable,
Mhm.
which
Good word.
sometimes you don't get that when you're kind of in a smaller confined space.
And just one more thing on that, then we'll move on to some other stuff. But to me, it just, like you said, comfortable is a great word for it. That's exactly how I felt on the ship too. I like the color scheme, and I like that there was like, I know this sounds weird, but there were plants kind of in that main area, not just on the bottom floor, but like on those decks
Yeah.
above it, like deck 5 and 6, like in the seating areas, little alcoves where you could sit with the big port windows and
Yes.
looking out. You know, it was kind of little Adventureland-ish, you know, with the browns and the oranges and the yellows and some, you know, like fern plants and stuff. It felt a little tropical, a little Adventureland, and just really comfortable. It's a
Yes.
nice place you want to hang
I I spent a way more time than I thought sitting around, kind of sitting there. I have a notebook that I was taking notes as I was going, and it was a great place to just kind of sit and look out the window and just kind of relax. And I found that way different on this ship as opposed to a Dream.
And I'm a fan of the Dream and the Fantasy. That's I
Yes.
think my favorite class ship. So there's nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about your stateroom. What kind of stateroom did you have, and how did it work out for the 7-day voyage?
Oh, it was great. We had a veranda room. Actually, we had uh, adjoining veranda rooms for the two families. So when we got on the ship, we asked the helper, the room attendant, to open that up. So on the veranda, we had that wide open between the two rooms. Um, the room, like I said, I felt it was bigger, where you could get around. And our family is myself, my wife, and my 18-year-old son. So there's a lot of people in that room, but it was kind of, we could maneuver in the room. We've got kind of everything that we needed, because you don't spend a lot of time in your room. You can if you choose to, but we didn't.
Yeah,
We would,
you're doing it wrong if you spend too much time in your room.
yes,
I guess unless you're on your honeymoon, but
yeah, no, well, unless you're one of those people that likes to get away and kind of recenter yourself.
I guess go to the spa, go sit on deck 4, you know, or sit, you know, look at the outside. I guess if you're on your veranda, if you're a real introvert, I shouldn't say that. I'm an extrovert. I feel like I'm missing something all the time. Like if I'm in something, I feel like I'm missing something else. Like that's my problem. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something, but what else could I be doing?
I'm kind of the middle ground where I'm not overly extroverted by nature, but I will go out and I will just sit there and kind of blend into the background and enjoy myself. My son, on the other hand, more of the introverted type. So there's multiple times where he just kind of excused himself and found a quiet spot to kind of get back centered and get back to relaxing. So.
And that's what's wild. People that have a cruise, like you think, oh my gosh, there's thousands of people on this ship, but you can always find a quiet place by yourself on those cruise ships. I mean,
oh yes.
If you get up early in the morning, you can walk the top deck and you won't see a soul. It's eerie. Late at night or early in the morning, you can walk on the decks and not see people. And you're like, I know there's thousands of people on the ship. Where are they? Like it's one of the most bizarre things when you cruise.
My experience the first morning after we left port, I made it a thing. It was like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to exercise. And I'm the type of person that's like, I got to do it way early in the morning or it's not going to get done.
Yes, thank you.
So I set an alarm. I got up and I went down to the gym and it's closed. Yep. They haven't opened it up yet.
Because I'm a rope dropper for the gym.
Yeah. So it's like I just kind of, at that point I was like, let's see this out. So I started walking around the ship, and it was like there was nobody. I could have ran the entire length of the ship and probably got into the restaurants and did laps in there until they finally opened up the gym. And it was like, I imagine that worker was like looking at me going, who is this crazy person that beat me to the door?
Yeah, I was always standing there like, can you let me in? Can you let me in? And I was he knew me by the third day. I was like, I need to get on that treadmill so we can get going because I got stuff to do. All right, so so the stateroom was great. So let's talk about dining. Let's hit into it because you got the restaurants.
Yes.
So before we hit, like, we have 1923, we got the Marvel restaurant, we got the Coco restaurant, Plaza del Coco.
Yes.
And you also went to Palo. Which was of the main dining rotation, which would you say was your favorite right off the bat?
It's a different answer depending on what we're talking about. If you're talking about food wise, I liked 1923.
Okay, that's good answer.
Because that was more of, I guess, what I was kind of looking for in my meal. It's like the second night they did lobster tail, and so I got surf and turf. So it's like that menu, I think, spoke more to me than the other ones. Not saying that I didn't have a bad meal on the ship.
Yeah.
Theming wise, the Plaza de Coco is by far one of the best overall areas that I've ever been in. It was theme park level theming where you didn't realize when you sat down and walking into the restaurant that you were on a ship anymore. It could have been in the Magic Kingdom or in one of the parks. That's how good they were doing it.
Yeah, it's better than San Angelo Inn at Epcot. I mean, it's more themed than that, and it's from the moment you go down that corridor to even enter the restaurant. It starts the story from walking down that. There's a long corridor that you walk down. And the story happens there before you even get to like the host and hostess stand there, and it continues throughout with the show in the middle, going on during dinner, and it's just, I mean, you are literally in a plaza throughout the meal. It's I mean, it speaks to me. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And the show itself, both nights, was excellent. So that theming was, I thought, top notch. Marvel Restaurant, I had never been there, so if you can see behind me, I got a couple of Marvel things that are directly behind me. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't. I didn't feel as connected to it as I did Plaza de Coco, and the show wasn't. Even both nights, I thought the show wasn't as good as the Coco show, but I enjoyed Marvel as well. So I didn't have that experience on that ship.
Yeah, so I was wondering because if you're like, because I'm not I've never seen a Marvel movie, but the restaurant's fine, but I just don't understand like when they do the Marvel trivia and stuff like, I'm like, I don't have any clue what any of this stuff is. But I mean, I get it, with all it's fun. It's all superheroes, right? And it's cool. But the food was good. I love the food. Like, I bring it on. Like, the one night I had like every appetizer, almost every entree. I was like, I could go for all this. But weird question. Now you're gonna be like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Did you have not your waiter, probably. There was a waiter when we were in the Marvel restaurant that did the worm at the end of dinner, right down the middle of the restaurant. You didn't happen to have that guy do that?
No. Okay. At least I didn't see it.
Okay, good. Okay, because his name's Chip, and I follow him on Instagram, and he still does it every once in a while because I see him on Instagram doing this, and it was the most wild thing I've ever seen on Disney Cruise Line ship. He was a waiter, and he literally did the worm right down the middle of the Marvel restaurant. I couldn't believe it.
If I would have saw that would have been pretty memorable.
Oh,
but I'm also the one that if they do that, somebody's gonna ask me to do the truffle shuffle from the Goonies at some point. So it's like,
dude, you would be legendary. You would be the king of the cruise. I mean, everybody would be like you'd be the next character stop. Like, you'd be up on deck 5, like in the little where Moana meets, and you'd be getting pictures of everybody.
My wife already doesn't kind of shakes her head at some of the stuff I do, but
Oh, welcome to the club. My wife's serious eye rolling towards me, like her 17 years we've been married. So it's exactly 100%. Um, so was there a dish or anything that stood out? Like you mentioned the surf and turf. Man, it's kind of
Yes,
like that thing you always want on a cruise, like kind of like
yes.
that whole like cruise dish. But was there like a dessert? Like I like some tarts. Anything really stood out? People might be looking forward to on the treasure.
Um, in the main dining, there's plenty. Again, I didn't have a bad meal, so certain things like the baked oysters that they had at 1923. That was right up my alley because, again, it's not something I do every day. And when you can order that kind of stuff, it makes you feel a little bit fancy. So that kind of thing. The short ribs at Plaza de Coco were great. I mean, that was our first rotational dining spot. Excellent. And I did every single dessert that I had. It wasn't a bad thing that I ordered. In fact, I would order. I'd be the one that ordered two desserts. So
Same. I do the same. We're so
yeah.
it must be a Mike thing because I get two desserts every night. I'm like, I want this one and this one. Like
And
ice
it
cream.
would. Yes, I would always get the sundae, the specialty sundae, and I would get something else.
Yeah, same. I get one ice cream and one like pie or tart or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the only one I didn't do was there was one night where they did creme brulee, and I love creme brulee, so that was my second. I think that was apple pie and creme brulee, which the ice cream was on the apple pie dish. So I did get ice cream with every meal.
We need to cruise together. This would be fun. We get along well. I can totally tell. Okay, so let's talk entertainment around the ship. So besides, because I want to talk about the Milano show in just a second, because that's one other thing. But like the informal entertainment, things like trivias, the cruise director staff stuff that they do around the ship, kind of the smaller things. But this is my favorite part of the cruise, like the tasting, stuff like that. What stood out to you? What did you like the most?
Well, I live for the trivia contest. When we first got on the first time on the Dream, and I realized that you could do trivia, that was, honest to God, my that's my thing. I will go through one to another to another. To say that they had a lot, they did. And part of I'm one that I like to set goals for myself. So I never won a trivia night or a trivia contest on any ship. So I said, there's a few things that I want to accomplish. I wanted to do the Castaway Cay 5K. I wanted to win one of the trivia contests because I wanted to get that medallion that they give out.
You're this is like you're like the Disney Cruise Line Dopey Challenge coming home with like bling, bling, all the bling. Yeah, I get it. I mean,
so I was like, okay, I had this mapped out. It's like, I'm going to do Star Wars trivia. I'm going to do Marvel trivia. Thinking the law of averages I've got to be able to do this and be able to win something. So it's like, I get down and it took me day 5 was the day I actually won one.
Nice. Because I never win because there's always somebody. Well, I'm not super smart and I'm not great. There's always like 2 or 3 questions. I'm like, that nobody knows that. Like there could be nobody in the world that knows that question, but somebody in that bar knows it for some reason. Like there's no way you know that without cheating. Every time.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. That's what I am. I went into the one Star Wars trivia. They asked 20 questions. I got 20 of them right.
Oh, dude, you locked it in. Yeah, nobody's beating you.
But there was 5 other people
Oh my God.
So they go around and they do a tiebreaker. And the tiebreaker question is, if you watch the original trilogy in chronological order, in minutes, how long would it take you?
Oh my God.
And you go around the room, and my guess was 370. Somebody 376, which is right on the nose.
Somebody's had that question before, is what that tells me.
It could be. It could be. I was so dejected. And later on, there was one, it was general knowledge that it came down. We were one question, one answer away from winning. And it came down to what animal's horn is made out of hair. And my son is with me. And it's a moth. It's a moth. It's a moth. And it was wrong. It was a rhino. So I took and I teased him for the rest of the cruise that you'll now know that a rhino's horn is made out of hair.
I mean, a moth and a rhino, they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
I should have thrown them off the ship.
But it's stuff like that. As I call it, my side hustle is I host trivia nights. So
okay, there you go. Nice.
I write questions, and I find that interesting because the idea of a trivia night is not to ask answers that you know. It's ask questions that you don't know.
Yes.
So it came down to it. They had a 90s music 90s music trivia, and I'm walking in there going, I've got this, because that is my sweet spot. And I won it straight out. And it's like, I finally got my medal. I come down the last night of the cruise. They do a TV catchphrase. And I'm like, I played with house money at this point. We ended up winning that one too.
Nice.
So I ended up winning 2 of the 3, or winning two medals.
There you go. Yeah, I love playing trivias on the cruises. I rarely win. I always get in the hunt. I always get like where I can taste it, but there's always a couple of people smarter than me in the room. Which is
I always say that there's, especially with the Disney questions and the Disney rounds, there are super fans out there.
Oh yeah, see, I don't even try to win the Disney. If it's a Disney one and you're on a Disney cruise, I'm out, because like I don't watch the movies or anything. I don't know, Drizella's cousin's third, stepsister's, shoe size. Like I don't know that. I don't watch the movies. Like I'm out. So
well, they did one that was Disney foods, and it was majority of foods around the park, which I
would play though, because I find it interesting. Even if I don't know, I'd like to just play. That'd be fun. Yeah.
As a rather large individual, I've had my share of Disney foods. So that one we ended up tying with somebody else, and the tiebreaker question was the number of popcorn flavors you can get at Tokyo Disney. And we said 7.
That's what I said. I was going with lucky 7.
It was 13.
Oh man. See?
And it's like, that was another one with my son. It's like he was so, I think this is right, and he wasn't. So it's like I got to give him a little nudge.
Ship again. Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left, so I want to cover the rest. So you mentioned Moana, that it was an amazing, because we have some notes here, that Moana, amazing show, the special effects. But one of the things, you did some pros and cons, and I've seen this because I've been watching a lot of the coverage of all the cruises ever since the ship launched. And I think they're going to, I don't know what the solution is to this though. The show is so popular that people line up way ahead of time to get seats in the Walt Disney Theater for the show. And I understand why, because I did see the show as well. The show is outstanding. I mean, it's an original show for the treasure and it is really good. But I mean, people are lining up like an hour ahead of time, which, again, we're talking virtual queues or, and I don't like, I don't know what the solution is, but people are, there's a line from the Walt Disney Theater back to the Skipper Society sometimes. What were your thoughts on that situation when you guys were cruising?
It's an unfortunate thing. I don't think there's a real way you can control that because it's popular. We saw the Moana show as the matinee. So there was, it was just kind of one of those things where that's where it kind of fit. But you're going to run into those times where that line gets backed up and they actually had it on both sides of the theater. When they saw Beauty and the Beast, I didn't get into that till right before it started and was able to find a seat. So I think the idea of where to sit is kind of what drives that, which you may not get your seat that you want, but you don't necessarily need to be up at.
That's a good point.
Yes, at an hour ahead of time.
Yeah. I mean, any seat in that theater, you're going to see the show pretty well. It's not a huge, theater's not huge and every seat's got a decent view. Yeah, you're exactly. That's a good point. So I wouldn't stress
about it. I know people were very stressed, especially with, there's certain times where especially between the dinner seatings, where everyone was kind of in the same spot. And that's where that claustrophobia comes into. And that line idea kind of filters into that. I was one, it's like, okay, well, let me just take a breath and try to enjoy it and find the good things about having to wait in line. Like, if I didn't wait in line, I wouldn't have enjoyed the artwork that's on the walls that are right there. And that I think was something I would have missed.
And you mentioned that in your notes too. It's not just the artwork; it's the artwork. This ship has the best artwork everywhere. Especially like the stairwells in the where the staterooms are. Going from like that 5.
Smell the artwork. That's what.
I cracked up when I saw that in your notes. I was like, "That's exactly right." It's weird.
It's weird, but yes, if you have a chance, you're on the treasure. Smell the artwork.
Yeah. Yeah, it's outstanding. You have your camera ready because, I mean, this ship is made for theme park fans because there's so many nods to attractions and shows that you'll see in the theme parks, and like for the geeky theme park fan too.
Yes.
Like the casual theme park fan might just walk past something and not even have a clue. But if you are a person listening to a Disney theme park podcast, you're going to be like, "Is that?" And then when you look at it in detail, you're like, "It is." It's a nod to that attraction at a different level. It's so fun. Real quick, the lounges. Did you spend any time in the lounges? And what were you got any takes on, Periscope Pub or Skipper Society or Haunted Mansion, anything like that?
Haunted Mansion Parlor is the single best place I've ever been in.
I agree. It's wild.
It's wild that every 30 minutes that show is going on, and that is theme park level effects that you're seeing. And it's the drinks were good. There's only one drawback was some of the specialized drinks and like the beers, which I'm a huge beer person. They ran out or they didn't have on the ship. So that kind of takes away, but Haunted Mansion Lounge, by far one of my favorite places. I found myself in there more than I think I should have. Periscope Pub, I liked it way better the way that they have that set up than the pub on the Dream.
Yep.
It's more wide open. I did a beer tasting in there on day 4. It was day 4. And I thought that was way better as an experience than the one I did on the Dream. Not saying that was bad, but it was much the person that was doing the seminar was way had a lot of depth of knowledge, and they did a lot of different types of beer. So I thought all the lounges were top notch with what they were. Scat Cat Lounge, great kind of chill place to hang out and listen to some live music. And the Skipper Society, that was a nice open spot to do a trivia or do a class or something like that. They were really well done.
Yeah, there's so much to the ship, and there's so much we haven't talked really about the ports. You guys went to Tortola, you guys went to St. Thomas, you went to Lookout. Let's hit Lookout real quick because a lot of people haven't made it there. I haven't made it there yet. Initial thoughts on the new island. What you guys think about that?
There's a lot of potential. It's brand new, so like a lot of the decorations or the foliage hasn't grown in yet. And I know that I said it was very one note, where you're either down at the beach or that's pretty much about it. Whereas Castaway, it's like there's so much more to it. And I know Disney is probably going to be able to bring some of that to Lookout. It's just right now it's in that beginning phases. I thought the food was better on Lookout than I did Castaway this time. But that's a matter of preference at that point. But
yeah.
I had an enjoyable experience on Lookout, which we ended up at Lookout because they canceled our port to Puerto Rico, San Juan. So instead of going to San Juan, they took us to Lookout and Castaway. So I got to see both of them kind of up front together and compare and contrast.
Yeah, we're doing that in July too. We're doing Castaway and Lookout, and I'll get to do the same thing, right? I've been to Castaway countless times at this point, but never Lookout, and excited for the new opportunity. But I like Castaway a lot. So
there was merchandise on Lookout for the Lookout 5K.
Really? That's interesting. Really?
Yes, but they didn't have anything that said this way to do it. So I have a feeling that's coming, but that's one of those things. I do have to say on the Castaway 5K, when I was doing it and I walked it, I'm not going to run, I was passed by several of the BOGP lizards.
That's cool. Oh yeah. Nice. I'm of the opinion every island does not have to have a 5K, by the way. I mean, it's okay to have an island where we just chill. Like Lookout doesn't have to have a 5K, but I guess it's going to. Like,
but it's the idea of they're building those activities.
Yeah, they're trying to give more. I get it, because ultimately your cruise probably is just going to go to Lookout, and that way you have a 5K experience. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, everybody's like, it has to have a 5K. Like, does life have to have I mean, and here I am. I run every day, but like, we don't have to run everywhere, people. It's a beach. Like, relax. You're on vacation. But that's, and I don't follow my own advice ever. So one other thing I wanted to tell you about, because I could not agree with you more on this point. We're way over time, but I love talking to you. You are like, we are so much alike. And I love this. The kind of the improv show, the Choose Wisely show that's in the
Sarabi Lounge.
Robbie, I can never remember the name of that the lounge there.
Yes.
I love that show. That show, I mean, it's my kind of humor. Like, I was dying in that thing when I was watching it. And I was alone because it's a media thing, so I didn't have my wife and family. Man, I thought that hit me. So that is just my kind of humor. It's like, he's like riding in the thing, or she's in the thing, little cart, and wisely. And I mean, it's like, it's such a good use, and it's just fast paced, and they're so talented. I mean, it's such a great show. I mean, you thought the same thing,
And
right?
the improv that Sage and Coriander did, where they were interacting with the crowd as things were developing, that is some next level like comedy chops. And that was the most surprising thing with Sage and Coriander, because there was different times where they were doing a 70s music and they just opened the door. They came in, they danced to a song, and then we're out. So it's like you were kind of experiencing them in those short kind of bursts, and it kept it fresh and it kept it funny. And the Choose Wisely show was the best show I had seen on a Disney cruise.
I'm with you. And what I've realized too, it's almost like a cumulative experience, because it kind of starts on night one and they kind of carry like a timeline all the way through your cruise experience, and they wrap it up. It's kind of the goodbye show is in the lobby on the last night of your cruise. You might not even realize it throughout the cruise, but then you kind of get it the cruise wrapping up with the goodbye show. It's like they've carried this timeline, this story throughout your cruise, which very next level, which I don't think a lot of people, a lot of cruise lines kind of have like a through line through a 7-day experience.
Yes.
I think it's neat. And like I said, and again, we've kind of talked about this on podcasts. It's almost like the Citizens of Hollywood back in the days at DHS, right? That's what I adored about the studios, was that improv on Sunset in Hollywood. And
the Adventurers Club. It had a tinge of that as well, which
a lot of that, yeah.
For those theme park fans, it just hits you right in that sweet spot.
Yeah, even in like that the era that they're in, the outfits, the like when she was singing the oh my gosh, like I just want to go back to it. Oh my god, with the old like microphone, and oh, you're killing me. Oh, I gotta get back on Treasure. So we are way over time, so we got to wrap. But Michael, final thoughts though. Anything that I know we haven't covered everything, but we gotta kind of get out of here. But what would you tell the audience? Anything that big major points we've left out as we kind of close out the show?
I think the Treasure is the best cruise that I've been on. Now we're going to be going on the Destiny when that gets up and running next year. So I think it may just be one of those things where the last ship is always going to be my favorite ship. But if you have a chance to go on it, do it. Enjoy yourself. There's a lot of things worse to do than to be on a Disney cruise.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what ship. It's better than sitting at home. Being on any ship is better than sitting at 100%.
Exactly.
But we got to talk when you sail the Destiny, because again, it's gonna be shorter sailings, so it's not gonna be a 7-nighter. So that'll be interesting because you're not gonna be out there as long, and that ship's gonna be a lot different too. So we got to talk when you get back from that. I'll be curious because we're right on the same wavelength in everything about the Treasure. So we'll make an appointment. We'll talk about the Destiny. But Michael, I appreciate you jumping in here on a Monday, kicking off a great week with the man. What a great way to start a week. And you guys have a great spring out there in Indiana. We'll talk soon.
We will. Thank you.
All right. Don't forget, our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or the best thing to do when you got to get out of the cold weather. Sail with the Disney Cruise Line. It's always warm out there unless you're going to Alaska and it's cooler. And that's when you do that. Hey, that's in the summer when it's 100 degrees in the Midwest. You win either way. So check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you so very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the all-stars to keep us on the air. So thank you so much for that. You can support us as well. It's just $5 a month. And for that support, you get a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/beourguestpodcast. Give me a follow on the social media at beourguestmike. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads. And join us in the Clubhouse. That's our Discord server where we have just about 1,300 listeners of the show hanging out all the time and talking Disney, talking life, talking sports, talking just everything. It's all the time. So just hop in. It's free. It's for everybody. No fuss, no muss. Come over. It's beourguestpodcast.com facebook.com/clubhouse. And we'll have another live call-in show this coming Sunday night. So join us for that. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Pick any of those places, join us and give us a call. We'll be talking Disney Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. So we'll catch you then. All right. Until we get back together again on Wednesday for your listener questions, I'm Mike. I'm in Missouri. He's Michael. He's out in Indiana. So until we get back together again, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Good stuff. Oh my gosh, you have me just to go because I got all my like stuff here, my treasure stuff. I'm ready to that's Minnie from the treasure up there.
We did the fish extender and I came back with so much stuff on that ship. It's like
fish extenders. My wife hates fish extenders for the record because she does not like making all. We've had like big group cruises, like over 100, 120. Like, and when you're trying to make stuff, first you got to be creative. Because the thing is, with our podcast listeners, like everybody's super creative, and like you got to come up with something like equally creative, and that's hard. That's a lot of pressure. And then you got to like make all the stuff, like like you got to like make assembly line, and then you got to get all the stuff down to Florida. Like it's a thing.
We did multiple things. So my wife made these like little Baymax kits with a lollipop. They had like aspirin and Band-Aids and different things like that.
That's a great idea.
And she put that together. And then I did, and this comes from my parents when they go on cruises. What they like to do is they just like to sit at a table by the pool and just play cards. So we bought a deck of Disney cards, gave one to everyone, and then I made this I call it a booklet, but I took 12 card games and listed out the rules. So it's like euchre and cribbage and go fish and stuff you can do with a family, and laminated them and put a ring thing on there and gave that to all the people in our fish extender.
And see, that's like, smart because it's not big. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like, with the problem is, like, we made something, like we did, I think 1 year, because we were trying to all make it like from where we were from.
Yeah.
It's like we got little Cardinal, like those little mini helmets that you get ice cream in, right?
Yes.
And we had, like, ice cream toppings, and we put them in like little baseball helmets. We had like 130 people. So, because we wanted to get them for the kids, the parents, because everybody was going to get ice cream, right? Yeah. So we didn't just get them for like one per stateroom. So we got them for like 130 of these things. We had these little mini baseball helmets with like sprinkles and chocolate chips, and I mean, it was you should have seen this. Like, you're in Florida. Oh my gosh!
I don't think I have my helmets, my ice cream helmets behind me, but I have way too many of those.
They're the best. It was, everybody loved them because, like, you could put your little soft serve in the helmet, and then because everybody had the cones, but throughout the cruise, but you could put sprinkles on it now and jazz it up. But it was a hit. Oh my gosh, it was like we had to assemble all those in the stateroom. It was a thing, I'm telling you. But it was fine. But my wife was just like, "You're killing me, Mike. Just can we not do this?" I'm like, "We have to do the fish extender. It's my podcast. Like, I can't get out of it. Like,
well,
it's our show."
It's funny because my wife keeps dropping me the hint of going on the podcast cruise, and it's just with everything. It's like it just doesn't quite sync right up where I can get off of time to do it. So I think eventually be on one of your cruises.
Well, so this is the last one that's going to be in July because my wife is retiring and my daughter's graduating high school. So we are no longer locked into that time period after this one. So this next one, we're going to take a vote. We're going to do something totally different time of the year. So,
well, my son is graduating at the end of in a couple months here. So the Destiny cruise, the way we have it kind of figured out is he's going to get done with his freshman year of college. Could go pick him up and then leave for that cruise the next day. So it's
nice. Is he going to IU or is he going?
No, he's going to Ball State in Muncie, Indiana.
Nice. So it'll be close. Nice.
Yeah, well, it's still about 3 hours away, so
Good. Okay, that's good distance. I know Mallory's probably going to end up at Mizzou, I would guess, and that's 2 hours, which is far enough, but she'll be home, I'm sure.
Well, I went to Ball State as well, even though I talk in the shadow of the Golden Dome. I went to Ball State. My wife went to Ball State, so he's kind of that was his choice. I mean, he could have probably been to anywhere, but that's the one he felt the most at home with. So he's going down there. So
hey, I look at me. I mean, I'm in Mizzou stuff 24/7. I didn't go to Mizzou. I couldn't afford it as a kid. I went to Missouri Baptist because I got a scholarship there, and I went to University of Missouri St. Louis.
As much as I would have loved to go to Notre Dame, my grades were never going to be good enough to get into that university. Even if I would have went to one of their satellite campuses, which is St. Mary's or Holy Cross, it wasn't going to happen. Besides, I also, at the time when I graduated, I thought broadcasting was what I wanted to do. So why not study under David Letterman, who was at that time one of the biggest entertainers in the world? So that's
right. That's so funny because Scott and I were talking about David Letterman yesterday or Monday before we started recording the shows for this week, and that's how we got on the topic of if you listen to Wednesday and Friday show, we were talking about Letterman, which got us to Johnny Carson, which got us to talking about Karnak, which got us during the Karnak thing at the beginning of the Wednesday, the Friday show. I was like,
where's the big hat?
I know. I was like, I have some Karnaks from way back in the day. We used to ask people to submit Disney Karnaks. I was like, let me see if I can find that file. And I did, and it was from 2014. So we started the show, today's show and Friday's show, with old Karnaks from 2014. So they're pretty good.
It's funny because if you know anything about Letterman, he has an entire building with his name on it down in Muncie. And when I was down there, in the basement of the building was the plaque that said to all the C students, and below, I made it, David Letterman.
I love that. As a teacher, I love that.
Yeah.
As a former teacher. I'm no longer a teacher, but used to be. Well, hey, I got a scoop, but man, so good to talk to you, and tell Brandy I said hello and congratulations to your.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
We'll talk soon. I appreciate the time. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, see you later. Bye-bye.